All right, y'all, welcome to the show. Hope everybody out there is having a great day, and I hope you had an awesome Super Bowl Sunday. I know I did. Because the right absolutely humiliated themselves. I love the fact that Robert Kraft and his Patriots got destroyed. I love that, because for those of you who don't know, Robert Kraft is a total asshole. He's also a hardcore Zionist. He met with Netanyahu. So fuck that guy with 1,000 spiky bats from hell. But I love that the All-American halftime show that was done by TPUSA was such a colossal flop that everybody's ripping it to shreds. So for those of you who don't know, bro, they botted, it was like 5 million or 6 million viewers. And their live chat was like literally not moving at all. Which for anybody who's familiar with the YouTube game, you understand right away that that's not a thing. That like something's off here. They said 5 or 6 million viewers, and there were like 125 comments in the comment section. What? Also come to find out, they fucking pre-recorded it. Also come to find out, they hired the 200 people that were in the audience. This thing was the flop of all flops. And then, of course, Bad Bunny's halftime show just blew it out of the water. I mean, you had over 100 million people watch that. It got rave reviews across the board, except for the conservative assholes who basically just decided to out themselves as total racists. So it was a great day. I hope you guys had an awesome day too, but we got a lot of stuff to get to today. So in just a second, Epstein updates, absolutely colossal stuff. It's incredible to me that we're on, I don't even know, day like 38 of talking about this stuff. And I still find a way to blow my own mind as we get into the specifics. So we'll get to that. We also have U.S. Olympians are condemning the Trump regime, and Trump is so thin-skinned that he fires back at the Olympians, who, by the way, soft-pedaled their criticism. So I can't wait to talk about that. We'll also get into Joe Rogan is panicked and desperate, and he is currently running cover for Trump and Epstein in the pathetic unraveling of his show. And then later on, ICE is currently torturing babies and children in the most obvious way imaginable. And it is just a horror show when we get into the details of that. So you guys know the deal, man. Everybody please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. You can also click that bell icon because that means you get a notification every time a video drops. And remember, guys, that's actually super important because YouTube does not love political channels because we are controversial. So if you click that bell icon, that's a way to get around the algorithm and guarantee that you know every time we drop a video. So hook me up with that. You can also support the show on Patreon if you haven't yet. Thank you for those of you who do support the show on Patreon, because as you guys know, this is real independent media. I've never done an ad read. I've never talked to an advertiser. I never will do an ad read and never will talk to an advertiser. And you guys make that possible by giving me $2 a month or $5 a month or tipping with that thanks button on YouTube. That also helps tremendously. And then, of course, you can sign up for Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. Sign up below. We got a lot of awesome stuff coming up on that show. And go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel because we do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We should have one tonight, y'all. So come hang out with us tonight. It'll be a hell of a lot of fun. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, bombshell after bombshell when it comes to the Epstein stuff. So the Daily Beast says the following. The Epstein cellmate claims that the Trump administration wanted the pervert power broker, quote, dead. Man who shared a cell with Epstein made the explosive claim in a pardon plea obtained by the Daily Beast. That's crazy. That's crazy. So look, my understanding to this point was that, first of all, I always kind of thought he was killed. I don't think he killed himself. He had so much dirt on so many powerful elites, and the powerful elites have every motive in the world to want this guy dead, because the second he starts squealing, the second they start going down. Okay? That's how it works. So we had a lot of people wanted this guy gonzo, and they put him in a cell with a guy who's like a multiple-time murderer, who's like juiced to the gills, by the way. Dude is yoked like a mofo. And that guy apparently had a track record of like fucking up pedophiles. Okay? And so, but this guy comes out and says, oh, for sure the Trump regime wanted him dead. So he knows. He knows. Now, I thought this guy was probably responsible for doing it, right? That's what I thought. And this guy, I don't know if this is like a wink and a nod telling everybody, like, yes, the Trump regime had a back channel to me and told me to off this guy, or if he's just saying what he thinks the Trump regime wants. He was able to put two and two together also potentially and realize, well, that's why they put Epstein with me, because I have a track record of beating up pedophiles. Okay, so here's what they say. Epstein's prison cellmate claims to have evidence that the Trump administration wanted the disgraced financier dead and left him unprotected on purpose, according to a document obtained by the Daily Beast. Nicholas Tartaglione, a quadruple murderer and former police officer, filed a pardon/commutation petition last month in which he claimed that Epstein was deliberately exposed to violence in the hope that he would not survive long enough to stand trial. Prior to Epstein's death on August 10, 2019, which officials ruled a suicide, jail bosses decided that America's most high-profile prisoner should share a cell with an accused mass murderer for reasons that have never been explained. Tartaglione had a reputation for extreme violence and a self-confessed hatred of child sex offenders. Tartaglione, who Epstein told prison guards had tried to kill him 3 weeks before he was found dead, claims it is no coincidence that he was deliberately moved into the same jail as Epstein and placed in the same cell as the convicted child sex offender. Okay, so this is the guy right here. You're telling me they didn't put two and two together? They didn't want this guy to take care of Epstein for them? You're telling me that? Take a look at this guy. You have got to be kidding me. And now he's saying it too. All right, in a 21-page petition obtained by the Daily Beast, Tartaglione says that he believes the Trump administration wanted Epstein dead. A spokesperson for the White House said anyone is able to submit a pardon request, much like everything else the Daily Beast writes. No one should take their garbage seriously. That means you should literally take everything the Daily Beast says seriously, by the way. The fact that they said this means you should take every single thing they say seriously. President Trump is the final decider on all clemency and pardon requests. So this is just absolutely bonkers. That now you have his cellmate go, oh, of course they wanted him dead. Of course they wanted him dead. And so many things don't add up. You guys know that there was an autopsy after the fact, and basically a famous forensic scientist came out and said, oh yeah, there was evidence of homicide and not suicide. So just absolutely wild. Let me give you some more now too. Federal statement in Epstein files announces his death, but it's dated 1 day before he supposedly killed himself. The document states Epstein was already pronounced dead on August 9th, contradicting the official timeline that marks his death on August 10th. So, look, I got to be honest with you guys. When I first saw this, I did not believe it. Then I looked into it, and they're right. This is exactly what happened. So it says this is United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman. And it says for immediate release, Friday, August 9th, 2019, and it announces his death. But the official time of death is not August 9th. It's August 10th. So they announced his death before he was dead. There was a federal document announcing his death before he was dead. Come on, man, with this Keystone Cops ass. I mean, this is like the worst cover-up of all time that I've ever seen. All right, let me give you more. On the same exact day, the FBI opened a child sex trafficking case against Epstein in 2018. He ordered half a dozen 55-gallon containers full of sulfuric acid to his private island. It could be a coincidence, but what are the odds? On the same day? Was he tipped off? Gee, I wonder. And then you guys, if you'd like to, you can pause the video here and go through this, because this gives you all the documents. This gives you all the stuff, okay? Just absolutely positively insane. And by the way, the more I read, the more the Epstein trap door on his island that led to the ocean, the more that becomes central to my perception of Epstein. What were y'all using that for? What were you using the secret trap door to the ocean on Rape Island for? Right? I mean, I think we know. But when you put two and two together, oh my God. Why was Epstein paying tuition for the children of the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands? The former First Lady of the U.S. Virgin Islands sent Epstein multiple tuition invoices. Are these bribes why they turned a blind eye to his many crimes and gave him huge tax breaks? Again, gee, I wonder. So again, you can pause the video if you'd like, and you can go through all of these documents in their totality. Mind-blowing stuff. This is on top of, as we've reported, and as I've showed you in documents, them talking about your littlest girl was a little naughty last night. Saying stuff like that. Casual references to torture, casual references to murder. There was one guy who said, gee, I'm so happy I didn't murder anybody last night. Like, excuse you? And the Trump regime has the nerve to come out and say, oh, we're not going after anybody. No, there's no evidence to actually open investigations and try to go after people and arrest them and convict them and lock them up. That is like probably the most disrespectful and insulting thing I've ever heard. Like, you are just straight up spitting in the eye of the American people when you tell them, based on these documents, you have absolutely nothing? Oh my God. Epstein going into a skiff should be the final nail in the coffin for people who still pretend he wasn't working as an intelligence asset. So this is him texting with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon says, on the coup, I'm deep in the middle of, and then you have Epstein says, K, going into a skiff, talk tomorrow. For those of you who don't know, a skiff is basically the most highly classified room that we have in this country, where you go in there specifically to look at documents that are so sensitive that you're only allowed to view them in the SCIF, okay? Like, the documents are so top secret, so classified, so sensitive, if you take the document out of the SCIF, that itself is a massive crime. So here you have Epstein saying, I'm going into a SCIF. So as I told you guys, there's so much evidence now, especially since we've seen there's about 50% of the files are out, obviously redacted massively, which is illegal. But we now know he definitely was in cahoots with Russian intelligence. He definitely was in cahoots with Mossad. He definitely was in cahoots with Saudi intelligence, by the way. That's a new one that we kind of learned. Also with the royal family, super tied in with them. And also the CIA. Remember that picture I showed you the other day where he was taking a picture in this like storage room. But if you look closely, you can see a lot of the storage bins have CIA written on them. So just incredible, incredible stuff. And by the way, yes, I do think the people who are illegally redacting just happened to miss that those bins said CIA, or else they would have redacted that also. Disturbing photo shows Epstein and pals sitting unfazed as bikini woman crawls under table with picture of naked baby nearby. So we don't know the age of this person who is crawling underneath the table. I don't know the identity of this person who Epstein is with, okay? But you can see Jeffrey Epstein here. And then in the background, in a sink, a naked baby. Now, I would understand in a different context people saying, oh, well, maybe that's a picture of himself when he was a baby in the kitchen sink or whatever. Because any normal person that has a picture like this, I don't think many normal people have pictures like this anyway. But if there are any normal people that have a picture like this, yes, of course, it would be like yourself that in that situation. But no. We've already seen enough evidence and enough pictures of other children. Remember the picture on his desk in that picture with Steve Bannon? Epstein had on his desk some like young girl sitting on his lap. There are so many pictures that are clearly underage children in compromising positions. All right, more. Here we go. In March 2025, the FBI discusses internally the clear and specific guidance to redact images of former U.S. President, Secretary of State, and other celebrities. So let me reiterate this again, guys. This is completely and utterly illegal. It's not close. It's not a gray area. It's not up in the air. We know this is illegal. This is directly in contravention of the Epstein transparency law that just went into effect not that long ago. They missed a number of deadlines. They ended up illegally redacting a lot of the criminals. They ended up illegally releasing the names of a lot of the victims. I don't think that was an accident. I wouldn't actually say incompetence for that thing in particular. I think it's the world's worst cover-up, and it's happening right in front of our noses. That's what I think. All right, look at this one. Looks like the person tried to sell Jeff a girl that was too old. Okay. From redacted to Jeffrey Epstein, Saturday, October 19th, 2013. Is she too old for you? LOL. Well, I will hunt my other Czech friends. And the response is, too old. Now, remember, guys, we discussed, I believe it was 2 Epstein leaks ago, we discussed in the emails, he had 12 different passports of girls, mostly from post-Soviet bloc countries, but there were some others sprinkled in there as well. Why do you have passports of young girls? Why do you have that? That makes no sense whatsoever. Unless, and then we also learned there were other posts where he was talking to one of his scouters or recruiters, and they were discussing buying and selling girls like they're cars. Okay? So again, that was about 2 leaks ago we saw that. So again, this isn't up in the air. At this point, you pound the gavel. We know what this guy was involved in. Yes, he was a child sex trafficker. He was the CEO of Elite Pedo Sex Crimes Incorporated. And also he ran a honeypot operation, a blackmail operation, and he got dirt on wealthy, famous, powerful people that he was able to sell to governments. And so you could basically control politicians with this blackmail. One of Epstein's victims talks about how she was groomed since the age of 13 after he and Maxwell walked by with their dog and started asking personal questions. They told her mom that they offer scholarships and then took her on a flight to New York when she was 14 to see a Broadway show. The friendship and the shopping escalated to massages, photos in underwear, and then sexual encounters with other girls. This is very disturbing insight into how these billionaires prey on children. And so yet again, I'm going to click this. You guys can pause it if you'd like to read the whole thing. There's 4 of these, so this is the second one right here. Personal diary entry, like journal entry. Here's the third one right here. Really, really sad stuff. And here's the last one right here. Okay, let me give you guys some more. make sense of this one for me, y'all. Make sense of this one for me, okay? Breaking. The government put boxes covered in a sheet inside a vehicle to trick the media, pretending that it was Epstein's body. And then Brian Krasenstein puts the exact file from the Epstein files here, okay? Quote, in order to thwart the media, redacted, use boxes and sheets to create what appeared to be a human body, which was put into the white OCME vehicle, which the press followed, allowing the black vehicle to depart unnoticed with Epstein's body. So again, you could read through this whole thing if you'd like, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But what the fuck? Look, I have to say, there's so much speculation and so much talk out there about some people think Jeffrey Epstein's alive. Some people just think he's alive. And look, I understand people speculating because clearly, like I said, this is the worst cover-up of all time. It's like the Keystone Cops doing the files release here, and they're hiding so much stuff, and they're skirting the law in so many ways. They clearly have not been honest and open and transparent from the very beginning, so why wouldn't people speculate about that? Now, I will say, there is a bit of fake news going around that he had this Xbox account that, he was playing it on basically until recently in Israel. And what happened was the name was like Little Jeff something or other. And I looked into that and read deeply into that and come to find out that that one is not his. Somebody could have hacked his account or somebody changed their name to Little Jeff to match it. And then they started playing with that. So the stuff about him still being alive, there's also this AI-generated picture going around where people say it's him in Israel today. That's not real. That one's not real. So look, nothing pisses me off more than people doing fake news and misinformation and AI bullshit when there's already enough real shit out there for us to comb through. That's mind-boggling. There's no reason to lie on top of it. But having said that, there are people who are otherwise pretty rational who tend to believe he's still alive, that they basically let this guy escape. They point to some Reddit post. This one, I don't know if this one's true or not. I don't know if it's actually verified, but some people point to this Reddit post of this guy who worked at the facility where Jeffrey Epstein was being held, and he says that he thinks they brought Jeffrey Epstein out the day before. Okay, here you have a literal file in the Epstein file saying they did a decoy thing. Why would you do a decoy thing? That's kind of weird, right? Like, what's the point of doing the decoy thing? There is no, rational explanation for that. So, I don't know, man. I genuinely and sincerely don't know. You have some people, again, I don't know if this one is real or not, but some people are comparing the photos that we've gotten of Jeffrey Epstein when he was dead to what he looked like when he was alive, and people are doing, the nose analysis, and the nose doesn't look exactly the same on the body that was, laying down dead versus the nose in real life when they found a perfect profile picture. So I don't know about all that. But again, I come back to the main point, which is I can't blame people for talking about this stuff, for speculating, for coming up with wild theories when we're clearly not getting the full truth. Pam Bondi is hiding the truth. Kash Patel is hiding the real truth. Donald Trump is hiding the real truth. We need the full, unredacted Epstein files, except for the victims who have a right to protect themselves, and they can and should demand that their names be redacted. But all the criminals, their names need to be let out. Remember, we know for sure there's at least 10 co-conspirators, and we know for sure the government cut about 29 deals with people involved with Epstein, giving them immunity, giving them protection. Well, fuck that. Rip those deals up and go after those motherfuckers, because this is literally a billionaire pedophile cabal of sadists who are running a shadow government that actually decides what happens with our lives. Okay? Completely and utterly unacceptable. I don't know what to make of this, but you guys tell me what you think of the theories that he's alive. I still lean towards he's dead, and I lean towards he was killed by Trump, because Trump, and Bill Barr, by the way, he's also part of, all the theories about how if Epstein was murdered involved Bill Barr, okay? And I lean towards that because the motive is there. They know how much dirt this guy had, okay? They know he could take down everybody. And so what's the best way to handle that? Well, Trump was president, and he could have ordered his assassination, and obviously a pathetic-ass cover-up attempt, which isn't fooling anybody, if we're being honest. Okay, let's continue here. New photos of a girl presenting Epstein with what appears to be a cake decorated like breasts, and a girl whose leg is broken. Almost 24 photos in the PDF file are of a very young little girl. Yeah, this is the thing. I'm thinking back. I'm having flashbacks to when Nick Fuentes was like, well, it's not actually pedophilia because, they were like, and Megyn Kelly said this one. She goes, they were barely legal, like 15. That's not barely legal. That's not barely legal. Barely legal would be 17 in some states, right? 18 in some states. She said barely legal, like 15. No, that would be underage, okay? But whatever fucking standard you want to use, yes, there's evidence of literal babies, okay? There's evidence of babies. There's evidence of children. So here's one picture, disturbing, some young girl giving him a cake that looks like boobs. All right, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't know what's going on here either, but I don't like it. Another young girl. There was also people, they would send pictures back and forth. Was it the Sultan? I think it might have been the Sultan. Epstein and the Sultan sent back and forth pictures of like little kids, like toddler age, doing like strange things that they obviously saw, in public. They would like snap pictures of them. I don't know, man. This is out there stuff. All right, so courtesy of Midas Touch, found in the Epstein files, it appears the FBI Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force put together this presentation to explain the various investigations surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. This page, titled Prominent Names, features the names and accusations regarding well-known figures, including Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein, former Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, Howard Lutnick, Bill Clinton, Bill Barr, and others. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. They knew. They know. They all fucking know. All right, and then finally, let me give you this. So we have the Epstein survivors released an ad that ran during the Super Bowl, okay? So let's take a listen here, and then we'll discuss. So basically, they're pointing out, hey, only about 50% of the files have been released. And on top of that, the files that have already been released are illegally redacted.
After years of being kept apart, we're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
Because she deserves the truth.
Because we all deserve the truth.
By the way, online here, 8.1 million views. 8.1 million views. And then obviously, when you include the number of people who watched it, probably over 100 million people saw this during the Super Bowl. Guys, there's no hiding this. There's no getting out of this scot-free like they think. And they do think that. They do think they'll get away scot-free. The fact of the matter is, you need to release the full unredacted Epstein files, and you absolutely need to arrest the disgusting criminals and take down the shadow government of pedophile billionaire sadists. We're not fucking around anymore. Any Democrat who runs for office at any level in the federal government should be saying very clearly, we're going to take down the entire Epstein class. We are law and order leftists, and we're going to hold these people accountable because effectively they've acted with complete impunity and they've done the most horrific crimes because they genuinely think they're better than us. They don't look at us as humans. We're unhumans to them, okay? We're subhuman. We don't count. We don't count. And obviously, the more extreme wealth you accumulate, the more a part of that club you become, the more you look down on others and you view them as objects. And they literally use children for sexual gratification, okay? Extreme wealth rots your soul, destroys your morality, destroys your ethics, and nothing has ever proven it more than this. We need to tax billionaires out of existence. There should be no billionaires. There should be no billion. I think you'll be okay with 999 million. You gonna be all right? You're going to be able to pay the bills. And then meanwhile, we could tax that money, take that money, and redistribute it, give people health care, give people education, give ourselves a thriving social democracy. People could get paid vacation time by law. There's so many things we could do, but we have to rein in the pedophile billionaire sadist class. That's what we need to do. The shadow government needs to come down. And so release the full unredacted Epstein files and investigate the criminals and lock them up. We need to lock all of them up. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.